Good evening, everyone. My name is Tony Pan, and I'm the member of the TOC Foundation.
Good evening. My name is Judith. We're the hosts for today's meeting.
So, welcome to join our online meeting and greet with our Orange County Board of Education trustees, Honorable Mary Barker, Honorable Tim Shaw, and Honorable Dr. Lisa Sparks. Also, Orange County Superintendent of School candidate, Dr. Stefan Bean. Thank you all so much for spending your precious time here to meet our voters and the parents throughout the county.
We also have a big shout out to thank our dedicated friendly community organizations, TOC Foundation, U.S. Asian Art and Culture Association, Ivy Max Foundation, Alliance to Protect Children, and Southern California Asian American Parent Teacher Organization for putting this event together.
So before our meeting officially starts, we need to announce a couple of rules. So number one, all audience will be muted by default to guarantee our meeting proceed smoothly and end on time. Second, each speaker will have 10 minutes to speak. Please do not interrupt while they speak.
Third, audience will be provided the opportunity asking questions to our speakers later, but feel free to type your questions in the chat box at any time. Four, if some emergency happens and we must stop current session, we will send you a backup Zoom access to your emails for RSVP. So please pay attention to your email box and log back in once you receive the new access code.
Due to our guest's tight schedule, so OCB Area 4 trustee and candidate, Mr. Tim Shaw will speak first and answer some questions. After that, followed by OC Superintendent candidate Dr. Stefan B. Then OCB President, Area 2 trustee and candidate Mrs. Barker to speak and introduce her colleague, Area 5 trustee Dr. Lisa Sparks. We will then open for questions until 8 p.m. Please see our agenda on the screen.
Please welcome Orange County Board of Education Trustee Area 4, Honorable Tim Shaw, to introduce himself and his re-election platforms. Tim, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much. I do appreciate you having us and let's see, and letting me go first. I have to 7 o'clock meeting I have to jump into, but appreciate you accommodating me at this time. So again, my name's Tim Shaw. I represent the northern part of Orange County up here in trustee area 4. So my cities would include Placentia, Fullerton, La Habra, Buena Park, and then Anaheim west of the 57 freeway. So if you live in that area, you can vote for me, and otherwise you can just tell your friends that live in that area to vote for me. So I'd appreciate that. I've been pretty involved in my community for a long time up here. I went to La Habra High School back in the day. I live in La Habra. I served for 13 years on the La Habra City Council. I was mayor of La Habra in 2012 and again in 2018, and had a fun experience with that, I guess. And I also have a job teaching political science part-time up at Rio Hondo College over in the city of Whittier. I've done that now for about 18 years. So I hold a master's degree in government from George Washington University, and right after I left school, started teaching part-time. So anyway, I got onto the board of education here in 2020. Had a tremendous time serving with Mary Barkey and Lisa Sparks, who are our other candidates here, and certainly hope that all three of us can get reelected and keep our good board majority in place we'd love to have Dr. Bean join us as well as our superintendent. And we've really stood up for parents and parental rights here in Orange County. We've been strong supporters of the charter school options for parents, as well as allowing parents to send their students to the schools of their choice. We've tried to highlight and bring awareness to parents about the curriculum that's being put out by, our state, and some of this controversial curriculum, such as critical race theory and the sex education curriculum. So just bringing awareness to that, about that to our county here. And it certainly put us in the spotlight a little bit. So there's been a lot of media stories about us, and we've not shied away from controversy, but we're trying to really fight for kids and fight for what's right for the children and students of Orange County. So I never want to miss a chance to tell people I do have 6 kids in the public school system here in Orange County. My wife and I have been blessed with 6 sons. They're all boys. All 6 of my kids are boys. And so we feel very invested in the public school system here in Orange County. And I want to invite everyone to visit my website, shaw4schools.com. That's SHAW, and it's spelled out FOR, shaw4schools.com. And I don't know, I want to save plenty of time for questions, so maybe I'll just pause there. But that is basically what we're out there fighting for: parental rights and school choice, such as the 20 charter schools that we have chartered here in Orange County from our board.
All right, great. So thank you very much, Tim, and for your dedication for education and our kids. So as we know, Tim is not only a knowledgeable education advocate, but also a family man. He is famous for his father of 6 handsome boys. So he just said, please take our regards to your amazing wife and the sons. So personally, Tim, I knew Tim for a while, many years ago. I think 2012. So Tim is being a friend in our community. So we thank you for all your dedication, all your hard work. So
my pleasure. I think we met. I was working for State Senator Bob Huff.
That's
and we
right.
were fighting the battle on SCA 5.
SCA 5, yeah.
So I was proud to stand with you then. That was the right thing, and we're still fighting the fight, Tony.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So Judith?
So Tony, do you see, is there any question for our team in the session?
I cannot see it from my phone for some reason. Let me see who there's. If there's somebody can jump in if you see any question for Tim.
I don't see anything in the chat. If we're looking in the chat, I don't see anything. This is Mary.
Yeah, so far there's no questions. So,
okay, so then Tim has another event at 7, so he will leave now. Please visit his site and support his re-election.
Thank you so much again for having me, and please help Mary and Lisa and Dr. Bean as well. We got to get this whole team across the finish line. So thank you again for having me, and let's go win.
Thank you, Tim.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so next, let's invite our legendary candidate for Orange County Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Stefan Bean. Dr. Bean, many audience already read about you or watched your careful insight interview. But they will have many questions for you. So now the floor is yours. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you. Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me tonight. It's great to, my honor to be in front of you, to get it just to share with you a little bit about myself and my campaign. You know, I always tell people that if we're going to save our country, we actually have to start with saving our children and protecting our children. And a great example of that is how my life was saved through education. I was born in Vietnam in 1971 as during the Vietnam War. Because the country was going through war, and because I contracted polio, which left me from the waist, paralyzed from the waist down, my parents abandoned me on the streets of Saigon. But an orphanage took me in and took care of me for a couple years. And then in 1976, the U.S. military came into Vietnam under Operation Baby Lift, to airlift the Vietnamese orphans from Vietnam to the United States to be adopted. I remember the day. It was very chaotic. It was so chaotic that they put my records and my braces on one plane. And then I was supposed to be on that plane, but ended up another plane. And that first plane took off and it crashed. And over 160 Vietnamese orphans died that day. So I was saved and brought safely to the United States, where I would meet Gregory and Judy Bean. Gregory and Judy Bean were amazing parents. They adopted 10 kids of their own and had 2 of their own. And so I grew up with 11 brothers and sisters. I remember my father instilling me. He was the 6th grade teacher. And he instilled in me, if I was to overcome my disability in education or in my life, that I would need to have a love of education. And I would need to hold education up high and value that, so it would help me to overcome. So I didn't do very well in elementary school, but then finally my parents sent me to private school. And in 6th grade, I met Donald Geisinger. And Donald Geisinger saw the strengths in me. And he noticed that I had this gift of gab. I like to talk a lot. So he said, Stefan, you just give oral presentations from now on. Well, that actually led to me speaking in front of 15,000 people in Washington, D.C. at the age of 14 on behalf of the disabled. From there, I got straight A's in school, went to USC. I got my master's degree and then my doctorate degree. Met my wife at USC, and together my wife and I have 4 children. I've got a 19-year-old, 17, 14, and 11-year-old. Our family, though, faced tragedy in 2014. My wife was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. And so even though she was given 6 months to live, she had 12 tumors in her brain. She was given 6 months to live, but she lived for 6 years. And I think that was very important because those are pivotal years for our children. I share these things because I've been in education for 25 years as a teacher, a principal, assistant superintendent, and then just recently a superintendent of schools. And I shared with my wife before she passed just all the things that were going on in school. Tim touched upon it. Mary's going to touch upon it. Things like the sexualization of our kids in elementary school. It's just not appropriate. Kids are not old enough. Even as adults, we don't understand those things. I also shared with my wife the things that I saw around, critical race theory, around mandates. These things are destructive for our children. And so I'm running for our Orange County Superintendent of Schools to protect our kids through that, and also to give our parents back their rights. Our parents have a right to be involved in their children's education. And the unions try to stop this, and we don't want that any longer. So if I'm elected as a superintendent, I'm going to protect our parent rights, protect our children, and then school choice is very important to me. Tim mentioned that the county has 20 charter schools, and I'm a proponent of charter schools. My leadership has been in charter schools. So those are the reasons. And finally, the reason why is because I told my wife asked me that before she passed if I would protect the kids. And I said I would absolutely protect our children in Orange County, including my own 4. Oh, that was our dog. And so I hope that I could get the support of this group to vote me in as a superintendent of schools so that I can work with Mary and Tim and Lisa and Ken so that together we can work in partnership for the betterment of our students. And that's what counts. And instead of what we see now is this, the current superintendent is constantly fighting this board. So the current superintendent no longer centers education around kids, but instead around politics, around what the state Sacramento brings down. And enough is enough. It is time to reform education so that our kids get a STEAM education: science, technology, education, art, and math. And I think that's very important for all of our kids. So thank you for your time. God bless you. And I'll pause there if anybody has any questions about my race.
Thank you, Dr. Bean. Your story is fascinating. We will have time for the audience to ask your question later. Please welcome our most courageous school choice and parental rights fighter, Orange County Board of Education President, Trustee Area 2, Honorable Marie Barkey, sharing her political journey and her plans if he gets reelected, which we all believe she will. Marie, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. I really appreciate the invitation. I appreciate everybody taking time out of their Saturday night to learn more about the Board of Education and how important it is that we keep our team together and maintain our parent and student focused majority. We do hold a majority on the board 4-1. 4 of us really care about the kids and parental rights. And we always believe that parents make the best decisions for their children. And we want to protect the kids and we want to honor the parents. I entered this journey back in 2018. I had never run for public office. I was doing some volunteer work at a think tank, and they suggested that we really needed to give more children school choice in Orange County and beyond. At that time, there were 150,000 children on a wait list to get into charter schools. And in Orange County, we really did not have many free public charter schools. So I watched a movie called Waiting for Superman. And after I watched that movie, it broke my heart. And I realized how many children are dependent on a lottery system to get into a good school where they can get educated. Our children, I only have 2. I'm really, I'm not anywhere near my dear friend, Tim Shaw, or even Dr. Bean, another dear friend. They're amazing, but I do have 2 wonderful children, and those children had wonderful education opportunities. We lived in a good school district where the schools were fine, and my daughter didn't want to go to the one high school in our district because there were over 3,000 children, and she'd sort of been bullied in middle school and was very scared to go to school with so many kids, so we could afford to send her to private high school. A lot of families in Orange County don't have those options, so I thought it was time to give back and go to the Board of Education if I could get elected and change the majority to be student focused. Lisa and I did win that year, and we flipped the board. In the last 4 years we've been elected, we have approved 5 new free public charters in Orange County that we're very proud of. We've also expanded several other of the schools to add grades to their schools, as well as saving OSHA, Orange County School of the Arts, that was really being treated inappropriately by the local district. So we've done a lot for school choice. We've honored just about every single parent's request for an interdistrict transfer that has come before us. I always feel parents know where their children should go to school, not the district. The district thinks that you should go to the school that's closest to your home or that's specified by the school district. We believe that for some reason, maybe your parents live across the street from a different school and you want the children to walk to their house after school. We always believe that parents should be in the position to make those decisions. So when you come to the county on appeal, we will always honor parent rights. The other thing we did was we never missed a meeting. We stayed open the entire time. There was always a place, even during the pandemic, for parents to come and talk to us and express their concerns. I personally have never missed a meeting in the last 4 years. Something else we're very proud of is we moved the meetings from 10 in the morning till 5 at night. When I was first elected, I would suggest to people that they should come and do public comment and let us know of their concerns. And they said, but Mary, we can't take another day off work, or, we have young children at home. It would be inappropriate to bring them. And so it took a while, but we finally got the meetings moved to 5 p.m., which opened them up to so many families that otherwise might not be able to attend. And we also live broadcast our meetings now. So if for some reason a family can't attend to a schedule conflict or taking care of their children or whatever it might be, they can actually watch the meeting live, or even in a car, if they're coming home from work, they can, turn in via their phone. So we've tried to make it very transparent. We've also tried to make the education that children are getting very transparent. We don't have authority over the curriculum. We can't decide what the children are taught, but we can certainly educate parents as to what is being, what the districts are offering, and teach them how to find out more about the curriculum, whether it be sex education or critical race theory. We feel that it's very important to take leadership roles and hire experts to come and educate you and let you know how you can find out what the children are learning and how you can make sure that it's appropriate. Let's see if I was going to tell you anything else. I would really, really love to keep our team together. Lisa and Tim are amazing, amazing colleagues. Just like myself, when we're sitting at the dais, we always put the children first. We always think to ourselves, if we were the parents of these children, what would we want for our children? And so we're very like-minded. We put the children first, something that was not going on before we took over the majority in 2018. And then Tim joined us in 2020. And the one thing that's missing is the culture for children at the county. And that's something that Dr. Bean would bring. He would bring a very different culture that would be student focused. As trustees, we spend a good portion of our time fighting our own staff and our own superintendent who doesn't look at the curriculum, who doesn't put the children first. There's so many times when things happen. We had suggested having a critical race theory forum, and the response from the superintendent was, but Trustee Barkey, the curriculum comes from Sacramento. That isn't good enough. We need to know what's in the curriculum. We need the parents to know what's in the curriculum. And so we really need a superintendent who's engaged in the community and puts the children first always, and doesn't just respond to what the state wants to see. With that, I'm not sure how long I've spoken, but I'll give a pause for questions. Saga, at this point, do you want me to say anything special about Lisa other than she's an amazing colleague? Do we have anything to read from her?
Yes, thank you, Mary. I think we'll let you kind of spend a couple of minutes to introduce Lisa.
Sure, absolutely. So Lisa is very well educated. She is a professor and the founding dean at the communications department at Chapman. Education is very important to her and her family. Her husband is the president of Chapman. They have, I believe, 3 children. I should know that. They have two that I've met at home, and I believe they have one older one that's away. But they're a wonderful family. They really care about education. They care about children. It was kind of funny. We initially recruited Lisa to run for superintendent because we really knew to be extremely effective, we needed to change the culture at the board and have a superintendent that was in alignment with us. But unfortunately, Lisa did not have the credential that was necessary. And with all of her education and her doctorate and being the founding professor and a dean, she didn't have the certificate that was necessary to run for superintendent. And I think she researched it and would have taken her about 1.5 years to do that. Well, that was one of the fabulous things, other than Dr. Bean just being an incredible human being with an incredible history and family, he also has a special credential. So Lisa's just super bright. Because she's run a department, she's really helpful when it comes to our budgets. We really look to her to dig deep into that budget and know what's really necessary and what's not. And when there's dollars that might be parked someplace that maybe should be somewhere else. She asks great questions, which, we truly appreciate. So she's a great colleague, and I really would love to see her continue to do the work we've been doing with Dr. Williams, Tim Shaw, and hopefully Dr. Bean.
Thank you so much, Mary. We are lucky to have all of you highly qualified educators and experts with a great heart of parents protecting our children and K-12 education. We've typed all 4 of your website and donation links to the chat box to allow our audience read more about you and donate to your re-election campaign. Now let's move to Q&A session.
What can be done to ensure that students with disabilities get the services they need rather than the money spent on private law firms suing their families? Wow. So let's see. I mean, certainly, students with disabilities is an absolute priority, at the county, and we always make sure that the charters that we authorize, because we do authorize charters, we always make sure that all children are welcome, disabilities or, first come, first serve. And if a charter schools has too many children, then there's a wait list by lottery. But that's something that is, if there's a specific situation, Deborah, that's concerning, you can certainly write to us. If it's a public district school, I can go ahead and get in touch with a district trustee. Unfortunately, most of the districts don't have what I call a student-focused majority. A couple of them do, but on each board, I typically might know one person that might be a good liaison that can help with a particular situation. If it's a charter school, we absolutely can intervene and see what we can do. With a district, I would reach out to a local district trustee to see what's going on.
If I could add to that, Mary, which is a great answer. I think that the county could also provide workshops, parent workshops, and support to parents around the laws, special education laws. I think the more informed our parents are, the more they can understand what they can ask of the school and what they can ask of the district. Oftentimes, what happens is that when districts are not focused on students, they may take away services, and the parents may not even know that they're doing that. And so the more we inform parents around special education law, the better they can protect their own kids and do what's best for their kids. And I think as a county, we can support our parents through that. Look, special education law is the law, IDEA, and no schools can deny any services, based on that. So I just want to make sure that everybody does certainly understand. Charter schools as well. Charter schools, because they're public schools, also provide special education. And so it really does become, I just was an advocate for a parent in the Garden Grove district just a couple weeks ago, and I went in with the parent to be an advocate so that the parent could ask the right questions of the district, and we could, always lift the students to the center of any special education issues and concerns.
That's so great, Dr. Bean, that you were able to advocate for a family. That's wonderful. Yeah. And I mean, I think that's what, this whole team, we're like that. We always put students and parents first, and we'll do whatever we can to make sure that you and your child are having a wonderful and the best experience in education. It's really, really important. These are very critical and formative years for children. And I know on a couple of occasions that I can remember when we honored an interdistrict transfer where a child just felt, or the parents felt, or the grandparents felt that child was much more suited for a different district that they lived in. I have received a couple of notes where they were just, Mary, if I could, I would hug you. You've changed the trajectory of our child's life. So we can really make some changes, even though we serve as an appeals board and we're not directly related with a curriculum. We can really do some things on appeal that make a big difference in children's lives. I see there's a question about opting out of the sex ed. Yes, that is something that you can do. What you have to make sure that you do is that you have a good relationship with the district or whatever school your child's in, so that you know when that's happening, and that's your right, and the school needs to be transparent about that. So one thing I always suggest is, with your child, make sure that you have a great relationship with their teacher, with the principal, with the board, local district trustees if they're in a local school, so that they will keep you informed and let them know your concerns and make sure they're addressed. Because as a parent, you have that right. You have strong parental rights. And, I feel like sometimes the school districts act like the children are theirs, but there are children. And, we need to make sure that we remind them whose children they are. I think there's a movie just something like that. Whose children are.
Whose children are they? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you want to add to
Mary,
that?
I see. No, I think you did a great job answering that. I do want to answer the next question, which is, why do we have charter schools? Why are they important? And why are there, people against charter schools? I will say that for education reform to happen, we need to be innovative, and we need to focus our instruction around allowing and helping our children to compete in this space-age world. And when we focus so much attention around CRT and the sexualization of our kids, it takes away the instructional minutes to actually instruct our kids in what really matters. And that's STEAM, that's SHOP, that's civics. And so what happens is that charter schools are able to provide those innovative practices, Large districts, if they want to implement something, it takes them a long time to implement it because it's a big machine. If you use the analogy of the Titanic, districts are like the Titanic. It's very difficult to get them around an iceberg, whereas charter schools are like a speedboat. If they see a good best practice or a program, they can maneuver around that iceberg pretty quickly. And so that's the advantage of charters, is that the local decisions happen closer to the schools, whereas in traditional districts, decisions, it takes a lot of different red tape to get a decision made through a large district. And so that's why the charter schools are important. Now, why are people against charter schools? Well, it's simple. A lot of districts and unions believe that those students that go to charter schools takes away money from the district, which is totally false, because the money always follows the students no matter what public education setting it is. So it could be a traditional public school, it could be a charter public school, and charter schools are public, and so therefore money should go to where the students go. And so unions are afraid of that, and so are districts. And quite frankly, charter schools actually cause districts to be better because they have to be innovative in order to keep their kids and their students.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And, one thing I would say is, recently during the pandemic, we really saw the strength in charters because, as Stefan mentioned, they don't have the red tape and all the bureaucracy, and they could pivot. When the schools shut down on Friday, some charter schools were already doing remote learning by Monday. In the districts, it took much longer. And then, they could just pivot back and forth because they don't have the red tape. Another thing I would say about charters is they're schools of choice. So the children that are there because they want to be there. Their parents want them there. And so sometimes you also have more involved parents, which always makes for better schools when you have parents that are vested. And they operate with less money than a traditional district school. They do more with less money, and traditionally the results are better. And, when the traditional district school, about 85% of the money goes to administration. So only 15% is left for the kids. And it's really hard to do well with that small amount. And, I meant to tell you something else, and I'm losing my train of thought. But we see that there's a lot of success in the charters, and just having different options. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. And people often get concerned that the charters take children and resources away from the public schools. And Senator Morlock did a study a couple of years ago and found that really most of the kids going to charter schools weren't coming out of the districts. It wasn't that the money was leaving the districts. Many of them were coming out of private schools where, for one reason or another, they felt that, now they had more children and they didn't have the funding to send them all to private, or they were coming out of homeschooling and now they felt comfortable with a charter school that was more suited to their child, maybe because of what it emphasized, whether it be the art or science or math or, whatever it might be. It may have been a better fit for the child, and therefore they felt comfortable moving him to that environment. Or maybe it was a smaller school, or it was, closer to home, or it was where their friends from preschool were. So there's a lot of reasons that people choose charters. And I think the important thing is that our children have choices that suit their individual needs, because we all know no children are the same.
Okay, I think this is an excellent question. I want to follow up on this one. And we all talk about the benefit of the charter schools. And so for the parents, right, for the communities, what should be the right thing to do to push, open up more charter schools? So what would be kind of the right approach? I mean, for the voters to do right now, especially in this area, Orange County?
One of the things that would really help is if in November, when local trustees are running for office, if they're more charter school focused, what happens is a lot of the local trustees at your local districts, they are funded by the union, who does not like charters, and therefore they're afraid to approve charters. Now we're happy to do it at the county, and I think that's one of the huge benefits. And so all I would suggest is that if you know people that want to start a charter or expand a charter, that they come to the county. It's unfortunate that they have to go through the district first. And it's a long, laborious process where if, let's say you want to open a charter in the city of Anaheim, you would first have to go through the Anaheim district, have them turn you down, and then we have a reputation for approving any viable charters. Now, we've also not approved a charter because we felt it wasn't viable. One charter, we suggested that they had some work to do and come back. And so it's not an automatic process, but I think if you elect, like-minded trustees, certainly at the county level, because that is where charters can be approved and appeal, but it would also be helpful to have like-minded trustees at the district level. But as long as we maintain our majority at the county, we will approve those charters that are viable that are not approved at the district level.
Thank you. So let's go to the next question here. It's about CRT. So could CRT, critical race theory, could be overturned by voting? Are Orange County K-12 public school teaching critical race theory right now? In what way?
I'm just gonna. Your voice is a little muffled, so I just want to read it. Could CRT be overturned by voting? Are Orange County K-12 public schools teaching critical race theory? In what way? They are definitely teaching critical race theory. There's no doubt about it. And some of you may know that Saga is the secretary. She's on the executive board for an organization called CFER, Californians for Equal Rights, and they fight CRT every day. And they dig into these curriculums where the school says we're not teaching critical race theory, and they clearly are teaching it. So her organization is amazing. I often partner with them, and they're absolutely amazing. As far as overturning that, that's coming from the state. And so, that's a whole bigger thing. I think electing somebody like Stefan Bean could help us stop it in Orange County. And so at a local level, by having somebody with a different culture like Dr. Bean, who doesn't want critical race theory and doesn't care if it comes from the state, would do everything he could to stop it, that would be helpful. But we also would be helpful to make some changes at the state level, whether that be voting for different people for the legislature, for assembly and senate, voting in a new governor. Right now, we have people in Sacramento that vote for critical race theory, but we as a county do everything we can to shine the light on what's going on so parents know and they can change schools if they're a particular school. Some schools are certainly worse about what type of critical race theory they teach and they have. And Saga's organization, CFER, can let you know. I know from working with CFER that Anaheim Union is the worst school in Orange County for critical race theory. I know that Los Angeles, LAUSD, is also very, very bad. But, we can do things to mitigate it and help you understand what's good and what's bad. But as far as really stopping it, we'll have to make some changes in Sacramento. But I think a new superintendent would really stop it locally.
Yeah. So if I can add on to what Mary was saying, which is right on. The good news is that it's not a law that critical race theory is in curriculums. And also good news is that a local board that just most recently, the Yorba Linda, Placentia Yorba Linda School District actually voted 3-2 from preventing critical race theory in its schools. And so local districts can do that as long as voters and parents go to the school boards and fight and demand it. And so that's good news. And then to Mary's point is that I would if it's pushed from the Sacramento to us, I will be the first person, along with the board, to tell California that we don't want that here in Orange County. And to Mary's point as well is that we just need to start voting more conservative candidates into these roles, because the CRT is coming from the left, and the left is pushing it hard as a part of the woke movement. But again, there is no law that says schools must teach critical race theory. Now, there is something that comes out of the governor's office that all school districts, provide ethnic studies. And so again, then it's up to districts when that happens. And I know Los Alamitos actually voted 5-0 for their seniors to have to be required to go through ethnic study. So again, parents have a lot of power. You go to these board meetings, you elect like-minded board of trustees, or you recall board of trustees that want to bring this stuff into the district. So there's a lot you can still do. And you know, I think that more and more parents are actually winning against this woke movement.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bean. Is there any other questions? People can raise your hand and speak and ask questions directed to the candidates.
While we wait for questions, I do want to lift up this questions around the sexualization of our kids. You know, listen, sex ed is required in certain grade levels, 5th grade, 7th grade. It is not required in kindergarten. So you may ask yourself, well, how is it in kindergarten, first all the way to 4th grade? Well, what happens is that principals and teachers allow lessons and allow resources like read aloud books into the classroom. So if you don't want that, parents, the first person you should go to is your teacher. Second person you should go to is the principal. And oftentimes, if principals get enough pressure, they'll stop putting some of that stuff in kindergarten through 5th grade. So your voice matters in that. If you don't like the read aloud books that are being read in class, say something to your principal, say something to your teacher. And then if they don't listen, then say something to your school district board, the Board of Education school district. Now, what they may say is, well, it's required in the standards, like social studies. And you can just fight right back and say, you know what, I'm going to exclude my kid from that, you know, because I don't want my child to be sexualized in this manner. So again, your voice is important in those topics. Fight, and I know many people are doing it. And another thing is, I love how the board, this current board, has been proactive about this by actually, and Mary, you could speak on this more, but you designed a forum, right, for Linda Bresnick to come and inform parents about a lot of this stuff. So, you know, maybe you can share about that a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. Whenever something is going on with the California Healthy Youth Act, the sex ed, it was passed in 2016 to be implemented in 2018. Just as I was elected in July, it was being implemented, and we had very upset parents and grandparents, arguably. I mean, I was very upset. I couldn't believe it. I mean, they wanted to teach our children things I'd never heard about. I mean, I was just flabbergasted that this was going to be in the curriculum. And so we were having trouble stopping it at the county, especially without a superintendent who believed it needed to be stopped. But we chose to at least have a forum so that with experts to let our constituents and our community members know what their children might be taught and how they might be able to stop it. And if not stop, at least their children from learning it. But we do believe that parents, you know, actively can help stop these things by showing up at meetings and talking to the board. And remind
is actually asked to see the sexual education curriculum that may be taught at a district. And you can do that under what's called Public Record Act. So you can go to the district and say, under PRA, I demand to see all of the curriculum that our schools are using around sex ed. And they actually have to do it. And you can go to the district and you can preview it. And then you can share that with your friends. Those are the kind of things that are happening.
Absolutely. And
there's a question about vaccine mandates. Do you want to answer that?
You know, I can certainly start with it. So, you know, as far as a vaccine mandate, I can tell you at our county, we will fight that till the hills. I mean, we will absolutely fight that. The government should not be dictating that. That's a personal choice. Children, parents should be making those decisions, not the state. I know with LA, I saw, you know, they had a mandate and they found out that they were going to lose 35,000 kids. And so they backed up the mandates. I personally don't think they're going to be able to push that through, because even parents who believe in vaccines and are vaccinated themselves don't want their young children vaccinated or don't want them to be forced to be vaccinated. You know, children are very resilient, and they just, I don't believe it. So I can tell you, as a county, we passed a resolution against the vaccine mandates. We had lots of parents come to our meetings suggesting that they would even say, I'm vaccinated, but I don't want children to be mandated. And we listened to that, and we believe ourselves. So we have passed a resolution. But we also have to make sure that the district trustees stand strong and say no and pass resolutions against vaccine mandates. I know parents are fighting this in Sacramento, and I don't think that they're going to have enough votes to mandate that. If an individual district tries to mandate it, I would pull my children from that individual district. And, you know, these districts are concerned about their students and how many they're losing. And so I think if parents really let the district know that that's unacceptable, and the first way you can start is by attending their monthly meetings and just letting them know, you know, and if people are shy and don't like to speak out, I understand that. That's very understandable. I work with an organization that actually help parents become more comfortable speaking at public meetings. But what you can have is just one great public speaker and then line up 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people behind him and say, you know, I want exactly what Wendy Wu said. Wendy Wu, I believe the same thing, that she would get up and say, we're against vaccine mandates, we'll pull all our children, you know, that's government overreach. And then everybody can just go behind and say, you know, I feel exactly like she does. So people don't have to actually be brave enough to speak themselves. If you can find one or two speakers to represent and just let these district trustees need to be reminded that you elect them, and they answer to you, and they have to listen to the community. So I think it's important to remind them of that. And especially with important issues like these, they should not be making decisions for our families and our children. We should be making those decisions. And Dr. Bean, do you want to add anything?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, Mary. I agree with you 100%.
Okay. Yeah. So that we just need to push back, and we'll do that. If you come speak to us at the county and say, please pass a resolution, if we're in alignment, we will do that. You know, we believe strongly in parental rights. There's hardly a time when the parent isn't right about what they feel is appropriate for their child. And so we'll certainly push back as much as we can and encourage you to work at your local district as well. Is there anything else that's come up in here? Oh, so if somebody's looking at education code and could not find the required minimum days, let's see, and then is the sex ed AB 329 required at least 2 weeks, once in middle school and once in high school? It is, I believe Dr. Bean hit on that as far as it being required once in middle school and once in high school, and not required in elementary school. And that's where we have to be careful, because we certainly are seeing some of it in lower grades, unfortunately. I'm not sure. I'd have to look into the education code. Are you familiar with that, Dr. Bean, about the required minimum days? Do you know what that is? I don't know.
Yeah, it really does leave it up to the district in terms of what that curriculum is and how many days it is. Now, it's not written into law that there is a minimum or maximum number of days. It's just written into the law that it is to be provided once at least in, you know, middle school and once in high school. So if you want to know what is required by the local district, then again, ask them. Go to their website, ask them in person. It's one of those areas, again, by the way, many of these ed codes, the state generally says, okay, you need to do this. And then they leave it up to local districts on how they do it and what kind of curriculum they use. And so this is one of those areas that many different school districts use different sex ed curriculum. Keep in mind, though, and this wasn't part of the question, but keep in mind that Planned Parenthood is a big part of sex curriculum, and they try to get into the local districts through the sex curriculum. And so, just ask again your district if they in fact use Planned Parenthood curriculum.
And, you know, just to talk a little bit more about Planned Parenthood has given money to my opponent, Martha Floor, Lisa's opponent, Shireen Smith, and Tim's opponent, Paulette Chafee. So they clearly, Planned Parenthood is supporting our opponents, as is the California Teachers Association, because they don't like school choice. So just so you know who our opponents are. And I know too that, you know, they're in line with Dr. Maharis, who Stefan is running again. So Dr. Maharis is running on a slate with our opponents. Are there any other questions? Have we missed it, or has anybody thought of additional ones that they want to add in?
Yeah, I don't see the questions came up. All right, there's one.
Let's see.
What are the major problems of the California and Orange County's K-12 education? What's your biggest challenge currently?
That is a good question. So the major problems, you know, I think the major problems is that, and from my perspective, is that the districts in the state want to take our children from us. They don't want us to be making all the decisions for our children. They want to decide what district they should go to, what they're learning, and when. And, you know, for certain things like math and English and things like that, I think that's appropriate. But I think they get into some issues that maybe should be left to the parents or at a later age. I don't remember my kids learning such graphic sex ed as they want to teach our children now. I don't believe that that's necessary. You know, and I think that's for the parents to decide. If the parents think that's necessary, then they can certainly encourage that. But I think it's just that the state is so involved in our children's education, and sometimes I almost feel like they want to parent our children instead of us. And I think it's really important for us as parents and grandparents to stay strong and make sure that we are guiding our children's education and our children's morals and things like that. And Stefan, do you have anything to add to that?
Oh yeah, I mean, we could talk about one of many things or reasons why there's problem in education, but I do think that the, you know, number one problem is that exactly what Mary said, is that the state and educational leaders, some educational leaders like teacher unions, want to be the ones that fully educate the kids. And it reminds me, and I tell people on this, reminds me of Animal Farm. If you had an opportunity to read Animal Farm, George Orwell, in there, there's a pig who is the dictator of the farm. And his name is Napoleon. And so Napoleon then goes and he sees that these puppies have been born. So he takes the puppies away from the parents, and he says, I'm going to educate these puppies and I'm going to take care of them. And so Napoleon raises these puppies up. He returns these puppies, and they are no longer puppies, but what they are ferocious dogs doing the bidding of Napoleon on that farm. So they're bullies. They're doing Napoleon's bidding, and everybody becomes afraid of them. And so that is exactly what the state is trying to do. They are trying to take our puppies away from us, to educate them, to control them, to indoctrinate them. And we need to watch it. We need to stop it. And the good news is we're becoming more aware of it.
Send a message or stay online, and they will help you to answer a question later. So thank you so much for joining tonight's meeting.
Tony,
I'm sure. Yeah.
do you mind if I just make a comment? Just something.
Yeah.
People often ask us what they can do to help. And, you know, you can walk for us, you can give us money, but you know what you can really do that is so helpful is that if you know people in our specific districts, and we can share with you the cities. Now, Dr. Bean is easy. He's the entire county. So everybody in his district. For the other three of us, it's a little more specific. But if they can just talk to their neighbors, if you have a friend that lives in Fountain Valley, where is my district, and you have a friend there and she's willing to talk to the people on her street and tell them about me, or send out an email to people in our districts, or, if you're not sure, you can send out an email that you're supporting the three of us and Dr. Bean. So if you can spread the word, it's really powerful when you get a recommendation from a friend or a neighbor or relative versus just getting something in the mail. We're sending out some mail and we've got yard signs, but a personal recommendation to people, whoever they are, I think is really helpful to us.
Absolutely, yes. So that's part of the reason we have this meeting. So we'll try, we'll spread information, spread, to as many people as possible. So everyone in the meeting, and please ask questions, or if you can talk to other your relatives, neighbors, and because this is important. And I think we all feel fortunate that all of you sitting in this board of education trustee right now, and fighting for everyone. So we want you to stay, continue to fight, and so I absolutely, it's we really appreciate your time tonight to talk us about this important race, and so we will do everything we can to spread this information, and so we hope we can win this race, and so again, I don't know, Saga, if you want to, do you have anything to add on? But if not, I will announce that this is the end of our meeting tonight.
Nothing more. I just want to, on behalf of all the parents in Orange County, and thank you so much for defending our education, our kids, and we wish you the best luck. We do everything to support you, and let us know and what you need, and we do everything we can. Wish you the best luck, and thank you for running.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us tonight and spending so much time and asking us these great questions. We appreciate it. If anybody has questions after tonight and you wish you'd ask them, I know none of us mind if you reach out to us. You can do it via our website. There's a place to email us. It's very, very simple. So please reach out if you have any additional questions. And thank you so much for your time and for really caring about the children in Orange County.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.